Welcome to another episode of Cyrus's podcast. Today I have my good friend Buck Wise. Man, long time coming here. I am stoked. Buck is one of the coolest.
Say it again.
One of the coolest and most creative individuals that I know.
Don't say that.
It is.
You know a lot of people, bro.
I know, but you're very good at what you do.
Thank you so much.
And that's why I wanted to have you on this podcast.
What do I do? I'm still trying to figure it out. I don't really
know. Let's talk about that. What have you done?
Oh,
let's start there. Well, because I want to start where you come from and to where you're going and where you're at now.
All right. Let me give you the fast forward version. And when I do this, instead of like a LinkedIn dissertation of all the cool things that I've been doing my whole life, I like to give lessons and value to people, so I'll try to like wrap it all up for someone. I'll do it in less than 2 minutes. I would say, well, number one, I own a creative agency now. It's called Closing Day Agency.
Yes.
See that hashtag behind me? We're in the offices here in Scottsdale, and we help entrepreneurs, we help businesses grow and scale. We do it all through marketing and sales.
Love it.
But my background's eclectic, man. When I was 17 years old, I worked at iHeartRadio, and I had a radio show, and then I moved to LA. I worked with Ryan Seacrest. And he and I did syndicated radio. I was in 45 markets.
I didn't think I could learn more of what you've done, and now I just learned more.
You didn't know I did
that.
Oh, I did 15 years at iHeart.
Wow.
So that's where and here's the lesson. I learned how to build community. I learned how to create.
Yeah.
I learned how to story tell, which is important. It's a creative element of like content creation. It's honestly, it's at the end of the process.
Yeah.
Because I didn't understand business. I didn't have business acumen. I didn't understand data. I didn't understand strategy. I just knew how to, like, when that mic cracks, how to get your attention, keep you through the conversation, and drive you to the next occasion of listening. Like and in doing that, you build relationships and community. And
yeah.
I want to come listen all the time. But like, I couldn't put together a marketing campaign to save my life, but I was really good when you cracked a mic. They call that the talent side of things. And I think that's where most business owners sit, by the way, is they sit in a creative space and they think it's data, they think it's strategy, but they don't know. And they're just like, I should start a podcast. I should print t-shirts with my logo on it. And they're just doing all these like creative things. And so that's really what drove me, and then my purpose is to help more businesses with that.
It's pretty interesting because I've been on the speaking tour, and I've been literally talking about this thought process that I truly believe business owners are creatives.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're artists.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to, sell art and have art as a business,
mm-hmm.
you need to treat it as a business.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just only be a creative,
That's right. Yeah.
You
can only get so far as a creative. There's some people that are like, Buck, I don't have a CRM, and I hear you with automation and nurture and all that stuff, and KPIs, and but I'm doing $1 million this year. I'm like, that's all you're ever gonna do though. You're gonna get stuck at $1 million or $2 million. Like, if you want to build a $10 million business, you want to like exit something massively, you ain't gonna do that just being creative.
100%, and it's so crazy because I talk to so many agents specifically. Like, I'm like, you don't use a what? Mm-hmm. You don't use a CRM?
They're proud of it.
What is wrong with that? That's the craziest thing.
But you know what that tells you? When somebody's proud of the fact that they don't use systems or processes and they don't understand business, but yet they're creating $1 million, it tells you that they're complacent in nature, that they're average, and they're stuck in a position that they think is the top of the top.
Yeah.
And so it's all relative.
Yeah.
It's just relative. 100%. And maybe they are top of their market, but they don't know the market next to them that's twice as big.
Yeah, and you also, like, just imagine if you implement those systems where you can go.
Right.
Like, you're right here, right now, like, and probably with less work.
Right.
Because the hard part is 0 to 1.
Right.
1 to 60 is easy.
Yeah. They're afraid. They're afraid.
Yeah.
They don't want to do it. They won't admit it.
Yeah.
But they're like, no, I'm good. Like, they don't want to do the extra, whatever it takes.
I feel that. Yeah. So okay. So you're at iHeartRadio.
Yeah. And I was
15 years.
Radio. I worked with, like, if you ever heard the name Buckhead, that was my radio name. Here, I'll show you this real quick. The guys can cut. I got a bunch of radio stuff. This was my Taylor Swift autograph.
Oh yeah.
I got the autograph stadium tour. Back in the day, man, I worked with, name somebody pre-Drake, because Drake is about when I got out of, like, when his first came on the scene. Like, my last interview was Kanye West.
That's pretty
before
cool.
I got out of radio.
Wow.
But like, dude, NSYNC used to knock on the door in Tampa, Florida. I did radio in Tampa, and they would knock on the door like, play our record. You know,
What
like,
a trip.
Yeah, it was, and they were kids.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
Britney Spears came through. I mean, I was CHR radio.
You're dating yourself.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. People are like, if you didn't know those artists back in the day, you didn't listen to me on there. Kids today, they're like, you were on the radio? And I'll be like, yeah, and I'll name the station that still exists today. Like, what market are you in again? You're LA?
I'm in LA, yeah.
LA, so like, I mean, I worked with JoJo, Kiss FM 1027.
Yeah.
I was on a station across the street that was 98.7. It was called Star.
Okay,
Star then turned Spanish and now went rock. But I'll name a station in the market, and then kids will be like, I love that station. I'll be like, I'll give them my name, and they're like, yeah, I don't remember your name. And I'm like, it's 15 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
What a trip. That's cool.
Yeah.
So after iHeart, what did you do?
Well, I'll tell you, I found a niche. So I was at the iHeart, and then I went into CBS Radio. And I had my own morning show at CBS Radio, and I was doing digital. So the Facebook started, MySpace, and I was like, I can use these platforms to build audiences on digital. And then I tell them, hey, by the way, I'm going to be giving front row away to whatever concert, you know, come see Beyonce, front row, come listen to my show at this time. Blast it out on MySpace, Facebook, and I'm building an engaging audience there.
Yeah.
And it would drive them to get off devices and listen back to traditional. So I was using digital and traditional together. CBS was like, would you do this for us? This was back when there were no like digital roles.
Yeah.
You know, now you have roles for like digital marketing manager and things. They didn't have that. They were like, that kid likes those things. Let him do it.
Seems about right.
Yeah.
It seems like it's working.
Yeah, let him do it. Sure. Do I get more money for it? No, just do it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'll do it. So I did that, and one day I was talking to the Detroit Tigers. They were a client of CBS.
Yeah.
And they were like, can you help us? We're a 115-year-old brand, but we don't know anything about digital marketing. And I was like, the only proficient person. By the way, we were all trying to figure out what the hell it was.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody was an expert.
Yeah.
Nobody claimed to be an expert. But they would label me one because I was the only one doing it.
Yeah.
So I helped them, and they said, how do we hire you to do this? And so I was never like, I'm going to get out of the talent side of radio and build a business. They literally, the Detroit Tigers, I owe them for my entrepreneurial journey.
Wow.
Because they were like, how do we hire you? And I was like, shit, I need some extra money. I was like, okay. So my market manager was like, you can do it as long as you don't have them spend money on digital and take it from CBS. Right?
Yeah.
Like, tell them in addition to what you're spending with us, invest in these other things, you know? So one client, 2 clients, 3 clients, 4 clients, hired someone, fired someone. A year went by, I made no fucking money. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. My taxes buried me.
Yeah.
It was just my entrepreneurial learning lesson of like, how to build a business. No one taught me. I didn't have good mentors. I think that was probably one of the things people asked me, like, what would you do differently? I would get better mentors faster.
Yeah.
Now I
as
have
fast
mentors.
as possible.
Yeah, back then I think I thought I could just figure it all out. I was a self-starter, so I'd already kind of figured it all out.
Yeah.
You know, I was in radio syndicated.
So before, and I'm just curious because where you get that thought process from, before you were in radio, what were you doing? Like, how did you get that opportunity in the
Radio?
first place? Yeah.
I was 17 years old. It's a crazy story. I was in high school, about to graduate, and I loved TV and radio. So I was calling so I lived in Central Florida, right between Orlando and Tampa in a place called Lakeland.
Okay.
And so I had an hour drive to Tampa or an hour drive to Orlando, both good medium-sized markets.
Yeah.
So I would call every TV and radio station. I just knew I wanted to be like on camera or on mic, creatively, storytell. I didn't really like journalism, but that's all that there was. There was no YouTube back then.
Yeah.
So like 17 years old, nobody was making their own creative storytelling.
Yeah.
So your outlets, there were no podcasting. There was no iTunes.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
No, I was like, okay, so you got to go to Fox, NBC, or iHeart. And by the way, at iHeart, if you really want to date me, it wasn't even called iHeart. It was called Clear Channel back then. That was before iHeart was rebranded. But so I called phone book. You probably don't even know. Do you know what a phone book is? They were yellow, and they would send them to your door.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I would go through like TV stations. Like, oh, hi, my name is Buck, and I'm just looking for an opportunity. And so like I was like cold calling TV and radio stations. every single one. What are you looking for? What? Okay, yeah, hold on. Let me transfer you. You get transferred around. This is a freaking kid, you know.
Yeah.
All of them said no. This was a learning lesson for me at a very young age. I called every TV and radio station in Orlando and Tampa, except one. The coolest station that existed, that every kid across Central Florida loved. The CHR station, 93.3 FLZ, a powerhouse station where the top talent in CHR would come to the station. #1 Arbitron graded.
Yeah.
It was like 93.3 FLZ into like Janet Jackson, you know. And it's like the coolest. And I was like, okay, no, you don't call that station. Right?
Yeah.
2 or 3 days went by, no answer from anybody. Like soft, easy, country, television, NBC.
Literally, you're just like anyone.
Anything. Like media. That's what I get in media, right? And one day I said, and I remember being nervous. I'm like, I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna call. And I called 93.3 FLZ. Todd Evans picked up the phone. Head of promotions. Okay, not marketing, he's head of promotions, like street promotions. Setting up tents, passing out stickers and t-shirts, going to concerts and venues, working with sponsors, things like that. Todd Evans, I don't know where Todd is today. He picked up the phone, he's like, hello? And I was like, yeah, hey man, I'm, the TV production high school, I don't even know, Hearts Racing. It's the coolest station ever. And I said, he's like, can you watch this station vehicle? I said, yeah, you need me to watch? And he goes, can you be here in an hour? I said, yes, sir, I'll be right there. Washed the station vehicles. There were 4 vans. They had their logos on them. Washed them. He gave me pizza, invited me in to see the studio. Freaking out. Like, I'm in the room with the guy that's talking. Like, the guy I hear, I'm like, oh my God.
This is insane.
Right? Like, this is insane. I'm losing my mind. Never left. I just stayed in the building, and they eventually hired me as a syndication producer, which was just routing audio from one place to another. And then, I think it was 7-8 months later, wild story, how I got on the air. Because everybody asks, like, well, then how do you go on the air? Well, first of all, you learn, you sit in the room, you produce, you help other DJs with their shows. So I was helping other DJs, I was learning the equipment, I was running the boards. My first job outside of syndication producing was running Casey Kasem's Top 40. So, like, I was the guy on the board at 6 a.m. on a Saturday.
Nice.
Going, here we go, another countdown and then you're like, I'm like asleep. At 17, you don't want to be up at 6 a.m.
But on a Saturday.
But that was my break. But I remember I had one of my bosses come to me. His name is Dom Theodore, and he said, "Hey, there's a meeting in there, and I want you." He goes, "You want to get on the air?" And he goes, "I'll give you 2 hours on the air, your own show, at 2 o'clock in the morning." That's the only time he could put me on because every slot was filled. But that was their training hours. So no one's listening. He goes, "I'll let you go on the air like 2 to 4 a.m. But he's like, you got to go in this meeting where all these executives from around the country for iHeart are sitting there. And I want you to jump on the table with your shirt off and do the Macarena." Like, it was some dumb shit like that. And I was like, okay. Boom. Did it. Done. On the air the next day. So that's how I got on the air. And then you craft it.
Basically what happened is you called, Todd had to watch this car. And Todd's like, I don't want to watch this car.
Kid will do it for free. You're 100% right. I don't know where Todd is today, but without him, I would have never broken the radio. That was it.
That's amazing. And what I love about that so much, and because I'm going to fast forward again, but what I love about that so much is it shows like you have to take every opportunity. When the door opens, you got to go in.
I always say, I stuck my foot in the smallest crack I could find, and I kicked that bitch open as hard as I could. You know what I mean? Just give me a little.
Just give me a little
wash the car. And that's, I'm gonna sound old right now, but that's what they don't see that anymore. You get a younger generation. It's like, well, what do you mean? I am that person. Why don't I get a radio show?
Well, and that's the thing is like, social media has created this whole thought process of instant gratification.
That's it. Well, they don't need iHeart. They got their own YouTube.
And they're putting one video now I went viral and now look at me. But the reality is like consistent long-term success comes from consistent discipline.
Right.
And just putting in work.
That's it.
Day after day. But waking up on Saturday mornings at 5 a.m. to be in there by 6 a.m. Yeah.
I would get done with a club gig in Ybor City where I would host the night 2 a.m. Casey's at 6 a.m. Dude, this was so I could earn 30 grand a year, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, and pay for my apartment. So like it was a labor of love. So I was hosting club gigs till 2. You get back at the station 2:30. I slept on the couch. We didn't have iPhones. I would ask the overnight board operator for the news station, WWJ. I would say, come wake me up at 5:30 so I can start the show. So some dude smoking weed overnight would be like, yo, Bob, get up. You got to start Casey. Like, that's how I would get up, you know? And sometimes he didn't wake me up.
And then
Casey was off the air. Literally. It was so dumb, man.
Oh my God.
It was so dumb.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So, okay, so then fast forward, right?
Yeah.
You started this an agency. You started working with the Detroit Tigers.
That's right. Valvoline Oil, all kinds of crazy things.
You know, and then you drown with taxes.
I learned how to build a business. I learned okay, so I gotta hire people because I can't do all this work.
Yeah.
I got like 4 or 5 clients, and I was like, how do I get more clients? Well, I need people to do what I do. And then I learned that hiring people doesn't solve problems because they're not you.
Yep.
So I was learning, okay, well, that you gotta find processes that make sense so they can do what they do according to the way you do it, because that's what's created your success in the first place. So yeah, and then I sold that agency to another smaller agency, but bigger than me.
Yeah.
And they absorbed my agency into them, and I started working for them. And then we eventually built that agency into a monster, and we were acquired by WPP, which is the world's largest holding group.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And we started working with big brands like Starbucks, Nike, Google. So I got the big multi-million-dollar P&L, you know, marketing and business experience. You know, working with teams of like 30, 40 people on one little tweet.
Yeah, it's great.
Literally, it's like a 40-person team at Starbucks to create a tweet. And everybody's got something they got to say.
Yeah, and make sure.
The strategists are like, well, the consumer really doesn't have that voice and tone, so I would change the one word at the end, and you're just like, just post the tweet. The tweet takes like 6 months.
It's so interesting, this thought process, because I think outside in, a lot of people don't understand what goes into the branding of a company in general. Right? And like, it really is down to the period in a tweet.
Yeah. I remember, because I had my own agency, so I thought I knew what was going on. When I got into like the corporate agency space, I was like, oh, you're a writer, so you do tweets. And they were like, no, I'm a Starbucks writer for Twitter. Like, one person would write, they were special to that platform.
Yeah.
They're different kinds of writers. And I'm just like, oh wow, this is like very in-depth, very detailed. But I also say, I said this to somebody this morning, one of our clients was talking about researching their target, their persona. There's a lot of like wasted dollars in corporate marketing. I call it R&D, like research development dollars.
Yeah.
They gave us $1 million to research the drinker of a pumpkin spice latte and 6 months of time to do it. Businesses will die in 6 months.
Yeah.
And they don't have $1 million to buy third-party data to determine loyalty of a drinker. Like, some of that, and yes, at that scale, it's a data war. You're really fighting against data from other companies. But you know, it's a luxury. And a lot of these brands, they just invest. Like Adidas had us do a study. They know at the time, this was 10, 11 years ago. At that time, they knew Gen Z did not have decision-making powers in the clothes or shoes they bought at that time.
Yeah.
But they will. How do we get them before they have decision-making power? Their mom buys their stuff now, so they're targeting mom for Adidas.
Yeah.
They're like, we want to own Gen Z before Gen Z has it. So we spent like, you know, I think 6 months traveling the country, interviewing Gen Z, and learning their habits and behaviors and how they like to communicate one-on-one, or connect, and build influence on their micro markets and things like that. And it's fascinating what brands will spend money on.
Well, yeah, and it's also interesting too, like, as far as a business perspective, like building a business, building a marketing plan, building your company, what you realize is the biggest companies that have scaled to this size of Starbucks, Adidas, Nike, yada, 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 they have people that specialize in everything.
Yeah.
Which
was a learning lesson for me too, by the way. I tried to get in with Nike early on before my agency had been acquired. And they're like, what do you do? And I'm like, everything. And they're like, we don't have a position for everything.
Yeah.
They're like, we have SEO only on these platforms, senior developer of SEO for only WordPress. You know, like, well, what about the other? That's another role, like other platform. You know, it's like very niche titles to your point.
Yeah.
Like everybody is the best at the one thing that they do.
Correct. And so like for instance, like our company, like what I've done is like I hire somebody and I'm like, this is all you do. That's it. Just do this. And then I'm gonna go and hire somebody else to do this other part of that, right? Because I want them to be I can be good at all of it. I know how to do a lot of a bunch of stuff, right? But I'm not, now everyone that I've hired does it better than me, which is the goal.
The other thing I tell people is it doesn't mean you're stuck in that position.
Yeah.
There is such a thing as a unicorn, but no one hires a unicorn.
Correct.
So for an example, I was a strategist for Nike, and that was what I did. I did social strategy for Nike running and Nike golf. And one of our other clients at the agency was Pandora Music. And Pandora called and said, hey, you know, they were our clients. They said, we have a rare opportunity. There's this artist named Shawn Mendes, and he's in New York, and we have like 5 hours with him to do whatever we want. But you're our agency, so what should we do? And who are you sending out? We should do videos and interview them. And our agency was tapped on a massive Nike project, and they were like, let's get back to you. They knew my background with iHeart. They knew I did interviews with celebrities my entire life.
Yeah.
And they were like, hey, you're a strategist on Nike. Any chance you would help us and go interview Shawn Mendes? And do you know how to operate video equipment? Can you like set it up yourself? I was the one-man band for the Pandora client. Went to New York, interviewed Shawn Mendes, like very much like how we're doing.
Yeah.
By the way, back then we didn't have all this.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm like toting like big cameras and
you got Pelican cases.
yeah, and I'm not really good at that part, so I'm just like freaking out that I don't have the right batteries and stuff. But the idea was, if I wanted to grow creatively, you become a unicorn. You hone. My mentors told me, hone in on the thing that you know you're great at and be the best. But then once you're in an organization, showcase your value in other ways or other areas as value add, and that's how you grow into other spaces. Or people ask me, how did you transition out of one thing into the other thing?
Yeah.
That was it. I was good at one thing, honed in on it, and then I transitioned it.
Then you lean into
lean into other things.
Yeah. So now you sold that agency. You were working with this big agency. Then what happened?
I was plucked from the world's largest agency. I was doing, and so this is wild, and no one's going to keep up with this. Radio started to. I was out of radio.
Yeah.
I was the SVP of business development for Wonderman Thompson. It was 40,000 people in one agency. It's something. It's one agency, 40,000 people. And I had a programmer call me. His name's Brian, and Brian said, "Dude, kids don't want to be in radio anymore." And I was like, "Well, yeah, because they got YouTube. Why they want you telling them what they're allowed to say, and they only have 10 minutes to say it, and they got to shut up."
Yeah.
That's what radio was, right? And then you got to do sponsorship where the talent only gets half the cost, and then the radio station gets the other. You know, it's like, why would they? Like, radio's dying slowly.
Yeah.
It's a love of mine, and it still serves a purpose in a lot of communities. And for advertising, I still love radio and TV. It's just how you do it, how you leverage it with digital. But he said to me, "Is there any chance that you would do a radio show from your house? Like, I know you're like this executive, you're traveling. I had teams in London, New York. I was going everywhere." And I was like, "Okay, so you want to give me a laptop?" Because at this point, radio stations they're computerized. You can literally log into a computer and see what's playing and what's next, and you can like hook up a mic to a laptop and just talk on the air. Like, you didn't need to be in the studio. The technology had grown so much at this point. So like, this was, let's see, 2, 4, 5, this is 5, 6 years ago. Not that long ago, honestly. I was doing the agency thing. And I said, "Yeah, sure, what the hell?" I said, "Just give me, like, whatever, what can you pay me?" He's like, 40 grand. I'm like, "I'll take it, whatever." It didn't matter. The money didn't matter. It was just added at that point. And the idea was this: I'll interview people and I'll just do like one day, kind of like you do. You go around and just
Yeah.
interview people and you just collect. You probably have like 5 interviews you're just sitting on,
Yeah.
right? And that was the idea. And then I'll have a producer chop it up and put it on the air. All I have to do is talk in between songs
Yeah.
and pre-record it. So my shows were 3 days pre-recorded.
Yeah. Perfect.
One of my interviews, my producer was like, "Hey, I'm gonna introduce you to someone. Her name's Elena Cardone." And I was like, oh, "Okay, cool. Like, is that the Grant Cardone's wife?" And I'm like, "Okay." And I kind of knew who Grant was, but not really. Like a YouTube guy talking about business. And that was my first interview, and where I was like kind of introduced. And then from that interview, somebody goes, "You know, their business partner lives in your backyard. Like his name was Brandon Dawson. He was starting a business management company for Grant.
Yeah.
And they were partnering together on that." And I said, "No." So then I said, "Well, bring Brandon in here." So then I brought Brandon into the studio, and he was like, "You should come work with me. We should build this together. And we should be partners." And like, he goes, "You have so much enterprise knowledge that it would be great for." They were starting from scratch. They had no employees, so they were building like a mini Deloitte inside the Cardone University network. Like anybody that was Cardone Enterprise. And I said, "What the hell?" So, there was some equity opportunity.
Yeah.
It wasn't just another job. And that was the mentorship Brandon gave me. He was like, "You think you're like the Ryan Seacrest of everything." He's like, "You're doing the agency thing, all these big brands." He's like, "You got the radio thing." He goes, "I was an influencer for Hasbro.
Yeah.
I hosted all their Comic-Cons."
Okay.
And so I was doing all these dumb things.
Yeah.
And he goes, "You don't own any of them."
Yep.
He's like, he goes, "You get hit by a bus tomorrow. How are your kids eat?" I was like, "Yeah, I guess you're right." Because I'd already exited 2 agencies. And it wasn't enough to say F you.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like enough to be comfortable and do things I love to do.
It's enough to be like, "I'll see you later."
Yeah, but I wasn't still.
And not like, "I'm never gonna see you again."
No, exactly. And it wasn't enough for me to say that I didn't need to ever work again. So, he really kind of inspired me to say, "Hey, let's build this thing together and let's have an exit strategy so that you never have to work again," because he had done that already.
Yeah.
Even before this, what you learn is people that actually know how to do that never stop doing it because they're so good at it and they love the excitement. So he didn't have to work. He exited 77 times EBITDA. I think it was 160 mil, 162 million, something crazy.
So sick.
But he was like, "Let's go do it again, but build it twice as big."
Yeah.
So I was like, "Fuck yeah!" So I left everything behind and went all in on Grant Cardone for 3 years. And I was the chief marketing officer of Cardone Ventures, which is the business management company, and helping small entrepreneurs. I say small, 1 to 10 million, helping them grow and scale, and operationalize, and put everything, all the pieces in place. Whole nother learning lesson. We grew from 0 employees to 88 employees in 2 years and did 62 million. One of the fastest opportunities I had. I think what I learned in that was, the better your flow, the easier it is to convert.
Yeah.
Because like Grant was just the biggest megaphone I'd ever seen. He turns on the megaphone and the traffic comes in, and then it's your job to filter it, squeeze it, convert it, retain it, and bring it back through again. So that's it. High heart to Cardone, and then I left Cardone 2 years ago. We had a great 3-year run. They were evolving and developing their business, and I said, "Hey, I think this is my moment. This is my time." I picked up everything I can pick up in 3 years, and I learned a lot. I would arguably, you probably heard this in other podcasts, I learned more in 3 years from Cardone than 5 years at Starbucks or Nike or anything. And it's just,
that's amazing.
He's a massive master of mixed between startup and enterprise. He operates like a startup, but his business will do $400 or $500 million in revenue.
Yeah.
But he operates like there's no cash flow. Like just tight teams, very granular accountability on every KPI. Like Starbucks just didn't run that way on the marketing side.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously on the business side, it does to some degree, but on the marketing side, it's just loose budgets. And it was all funny money.
Yeah.
It was just like, it was like retirement for marketers.
Yeah.
Literally, we're doing award shows in France. We won stuff for Pumpkin Spice. Like, let's all go to France and win awards.
Yeah.
And like, Grant was like, if we had success, he was like, how do we go bigger? Like, let's go harder. There's no vacations in France. Wow. So it was
so
great.
You did 3 years there. You crushed it there, obviously, because we you can see what the growth
The numbers
during
are
that
there.
time period,
Yeah.
right? And then you said, I'm gonna go do my thing, start closing day agency.
Third agency. Yeah.
Okay,
That's it.
so you just love agencies.
I hate it. I'm gonna be honest, and maybe this hurts me if someone's watching this and they're like, we should hire a closing day agency. You should, but I hate agencies. Let me tell you why. It's a bad business model. It's really hard. This is the hardest part. It's not the clients. I love the clients, and my purpose is to help clients grow. Talent is very difficult, and that's all you're managing.
Yeah.
Yes, you're managing clients, but you're managing talent.
Yeah.
And that's why they hire you, because they don't want to manage the talent.
Yeah, exactly.
And even if they did, they don't know how to manage the talent. Trust me,
Yeah.
the skill you hire me for is to manage all the creative people to put your stuff together.
Yeah.
That's my expertise. I'm gonna get it done when I say get it done with the ROI we say we'll get it done with. But the reason I started a third one is one, I know it really well. I am passionate about helping build businesses through marketing and sales. People say, are you gonna sell this one? No, the climate is not an opportunity anymore to sell agencies.
Yeah.
The acquisitions have happened. They already sort of took all of these agencies, combined them together. The only way, I say that, and some people may argue, the only way you can make money on an agency today is two ways. One, you have an IP or a technology that someone else wants or needs. Or number two, you own a niche. So if I had thousands and thousands of dental clients, then some big holding dental company may want to soak me in, have me run it for a year and let me exit.
Yeah.
Something like that. And I could do that, but that's not my strategy, and it's not my passion. What I've done in the last 2 years with Closing Day Agency, outside of help businesses grow, is meet amazing people. And those people have said, you know what, we should start an entity together, a partnership together. So I have 2 other businesses that we've created from current clients.
Love that.
And so I'm always looking at the big picture. When I bring a client in, I'm not like, how do we get a $5,000 monthly retainer, $10,000 monthly? To me, I'm going, is this person capable of partnering with me on a bigger level in the next 2 to 5 years?
Yep.
And if I can help them with what they're doing now get here, maybe we franchise it in 2 years together. And then we go in on a 50-50 partner.
Yeah.
And I've done that with golf simulation companies. I'm helping them open their second location. Now we're talking about franchising it.
Yeah.
We've done it with help companies that we work with. I have a fitness company we work with where we talked about creating our own fitness programs.
Love it.
And so that's my goal now, is like, who can I meet that shares that same opinion of going big and creating something together?
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that, because that's like that's my whole thought process on, you know, I was talking to somebody the other day and people were like, oh, you're an influencer. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Anything I put, I own part of.
Right.
Like, I want equity in everything.
That's right.
If I'm gonna advertise, if I'm gonna use my image, if I'm gonna do that, I want equity in it.
That's it, yeah.
And I think that if you have that thought process and that mindset, like, the ability for growth is just unreal, because now you have 50 different fires that are all working towards the greater good of,
Sleep money.
Yeah, exactly. Mailbox money.
That's it.
100%.
Yeah.
So now you got Closing Day Agency, you're crushing it there, you've started other entities, that's your game plan moving forward.
That's it.
How big do you want Closing Day Agency to be? Do you want it to be one of the biggest agencies in the country? Do you want it to be what it sounds like to me is you enjoy the agency side. You said you didn't, but I think you do, in the fact of being able to help those businesses grow.
Part. That's meeting people and helping them grow is my favorite part.
That's what I was going to say.
You know, you're constantly negotiating fires with talent. You know, talent comes in, and then I hope I inspire them to build something bigger with me. But sometimes they want to leave and build it. So you're constantly recruiting, like any business, though. You're really just constantly recruiting. We have a goal to hit 50 million in 3 years. We're on track to hit that number. So our KPIs are tight right now. But you said it, an iron in the fire. The agency is the iron in the fire, but to me it's the most important because it is the vehicle to meet other irons. That's all it is.
I love that.
So if we stay at 50 million, at 3 years we hit 50 million in revenue, right? And we hit a good profit margin. For an agency, 25 to 40% profit margin. It's ridiculous. So it'd be great. Most agencies very low profit margins. So as long as we do that, and obviously I'm like,
competitive. I always want to go bigger. I'm always going to want to go over that. But if the other fires are just as big and growing, then
if
you know.
I mean, even if you hit, let's pretend you're behind and you hit 40 million, but you got 7 other irons instead of only 2 irons, like
that's the thing.
you're gonna
someday I may say someone else run the agency, it goes on auto mode, and then I go help other people in other places. But
which is cool.
I think the other part of this too that I don't talk about as much as I should is I need all the vehicles to help support other people. So I want, if my people aren't succeeding, then I'm not going to be fulfilled with a bunch of great companies where nobody else had opportunity for wealth and growth as well. So that's what someone gave me. That opportunity to learn how to do that and what it meant. And so, you know, every senior executive in my agency is going to get their equity.
Love that.
Like that is the game plan as we grow this agency out. Is like they get a piece of the company, and that way they're vested and they have interest in
I love that
where it goes.
And that's high tide rises all boats, right? Like if we can all grow together, then like J. Cole said it in one of his songs, Russ said it in another song, and it's essentially the thought process of, you know, like money's not as fun if you're the only one with it. Like it's way cooler to have money with all your friends and other people have it. Because life is short.
That's right.
Like at the end of the day, like the money, all of that doesn't really matter as long as we're enjoying our life. I appreciate you so much for being on today, brother.
Man.
Thank you for making time to make this happen.
Dude. When Cyrus is in town, you just say yes. Let's go. Let's make it happen.
Appreciate you, bro. Where can people find you if they want to connect with you?
I'm a big IG guy, so About Buck on Instagram. Would love for you to not just follow, don't be. I'm so tired of social media being so passive. Give him a follow, see what he's about. Follow. We'll see. Maybe I'll unfollow him in a week. Say hi. Like, I'm a real dude. Like, I'm approachable. Just DM me.
Here's the thing. Here's the craziest thing is Buck will legitimately, I can guarantee this, he will send you a video message.
Right now.
It's
right now. If you follow me right now, but you gotta say hi. I'll say, hey. Sometimes I just see people follow and I get pissy. And I go, hey, what's up, Sarah? I noticed you just followed me. I'm just curious. What are you looking for? Did you like my content? Like, where are you? And they're just like, oh, hi. Like, I love it. Oh, thank you. And I'm just like, what? Say hi. You're too passive.
It's so funny. I'm like, you know, huge on IG on like communication, video message, all video call people. We've done it before, you know, like, but like, it's like that's what social media is actually about. It's connecting with people, right? So,
and I'm not pitching anything. I didn't let you. I'm not saying hi. Dude's gonna pitch me on his agency. Like, well, yeah, if you need to grow, I might. But I just want to know people because I know people that you need to do business with. Trust me. You want to know my people. You want to know Cyrus because he might do business with you.
That's 100%. No, I appreciate that.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, brother.
Thank you again for being on and connect with Buck.
Thank you.
Talk soon, man.
Thanks, brother.